Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay in the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
Welcome to the Black and Gold Banneret podcast. I'm Jeff Sharon, and this is our first episode of what we are calling our summer sessions here on the Black and Gold Banneret podcast. Eric's not with me here right now, but you'll hear him soon enough. So here's our story. Like we've said in some previous episodes, we're in the summertime now, and it's kind of a downtime for, of course, obviously for college sports. Although, as I'm recording this, we're now less than 3 months away from, or rather less than 2 months away from college football season starting up. But before we start our preseason shows, where we preview the fall sports, we wanted to take a little trip sort of in the Wayback Machine and talk to some friends of ours who've been involved in UCF since we were students and even before then. And we've had the good fortune, Eric and I, since we came to UCF, I came to UCF in the fall of 2001 as a freshman, of being around some really remarkable people in the UCF family and seeing some really remarkable moments as the school really in the last 17 years has grown up quite a bit. And you've seen that too. So what we want to do is spend a few shows here this summer, reconnecting with some old friends and doing some extended interviews with them. And I think some of them you'll find really interesting, really enlightening. And I'm sure they'll bring back some good memories too. So without further ado, we're going to get started with our first one here in just a moment. But I just wanted to remind you to make sure you tune in, or log on rather, to blackandgoldbanneret.com for all of our latest content, including this podcast. You can look us up on Facebook as well. Just search for Black and Gold Banneret. Give us a like on there. We're trying to hit 100 likes, and once we do that, then things will start snowballing there for us. In addition, you can follow us on Twitter at UCF_Banneret. You can follow me at Jeff_Sharon and follow Eric at Eric Lopez Elo. You can also make sure you subscribe to this podcast if you don't already on iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, and TuneIn. Don't forget to tell your friends and leave us a rating, too. That really helps us out in terms of getting your fellow UCF fans and friends to discover us organically on iTunes especially. So let's dive in with our first summer session, and it is our former UCF women's soccer head coach, Amanda Cromwell. Amanda is now the head coach at UCLA. She's been there ever since she left UCF following the 2013 season. She was the head coach at UCF for 14 years, from 1999 to 2013. So speaking of seeing UCF really grow up, Amanda really did. Back when the soccer complex that we know of now was basically just a lighted field next to a wooded area back there in the athletic complex. Or what became the athletic complex, she came over to UCF with a lot of legitimacy because she was a member of the U.S. women's soccer team. She played her college soccer at Virginia from '88 to '92, and captained their team, the Cavaliers, to the Final Four in 1991. She was on the U.S. women's national soccer team from 1991 to 1998. So she was there with the team in 96 when they won the gold in Atlanta and the Olympics. And she participated in the 1995 FIFA Women's World Cup as well. She had an extended professional career playing with a number of different teams in women's professional leagues, including the San Jose Cyber Rays and the Orlando Lions of 1997, for those of you who may remember that. and the Tampa Bay Extreme. She was perhaps best known for playing with the Washington Freedom and the Atlanta Beat. And she came to UCF after 2 years coaching at University of Maryland, Baltimore County, UMBC, 96-97. She joined UCF in 99, and her resume at UCF was really, she's helped UCF women's soccer in particular really grow up from a team that she took over in 1999 in the Atlantic Sun. They made the NCAA tournament 11 times. She won the conference championship 4 times in the A-Sun, and then another 4 times at UCF. And it really culminated in an Elite 8 tournament run for UCF in 2011 that we talk about with Amanda quite a bit, that really did put UCF women's soccer on the map. A truly magical season. She won more than 200 games at UCF as the head women's soccer coach. And from there, after doing all that she did at UCF and building that program, she then got the call from UCLA and made the trip all the way out west in 2013. And in her first season, just 8 months after she was named head coach, Amanda Cromwell took the UCLA Bruins to the national championship. 22-1-3 record. They were unbeaten in their last 21 games and gave up just 1 goal in the entire NCAA tournament. In fact, they gave up just 8 goals all season. That's a credit to Amanda, and also Alini Reyes, who played for Amanda at UCF and was her volunteer goalkeeper coach. Alini was on that 2011 Elite 8 team and helped UCLA in terms of its first-year coaching staff go all the way to the national championship. She was Soccer America's Coach of the Year. And, of course, she's still at UCLA, although she still maintains a number of ties to the Central Florida area. She's got her camp coming up that she's going to be talking about here in this interview in just a moment. So let's get right down to it. Without any further ado, here is our interview with former UCF women's soccer head coach and current head coach of UCLA women's soccer, Amanda Cromwell. And joining us now is the head coach of the UCLA Bruins women's soccer team. She's got a national championship ring to her on her fingers. She's got an Olympic gold medal. She is one of the foundational blocks of the sport of women's soccer in this country. And we know her, of course, as a former head coach at UCF for quite some time. Amanda Cromwell joining us here on the Black and Gold Banneret podcast on our first summer session. Coach Cromwell, congratulations, I think.
Well, thank you. I don't think I've ever been called did you call me a building block or a foundation block? I'm not sure, but I take that as a compliment.
Yeah, we'll go with foundational building block. How about that? But
it sounds like something from the John Wooden Pyramid of Success, so I'll take it.
Exactly, which I got that book over on my night table over there too. I was reading up actually on it the other day. So, how's life out in California? What's it like out in Los Angeles?
I love it out here. I'm having a great time. I can ride my bike to the beach, and I really enjoy being at UCLA. The camaraderie amongst all the sports teams is really, really cool. There's a high expectation out here, and everyone really supports each other well, and the athletes and the coaches alike. So it's a fun place to be.
Aside from the fact that it's UCLA, it's Pac-12, it's and the resources that come with it. I mean, UCLA is one of the largest public schools in the country. UCF is one of the largest public schools in the country. What for you has been the biggest difference going out to California and being a part of the UCLA program?
Well, I think right off the bat, UCF was a young school comparatively. So just the history of UCLA and its athletics program kind of really blew me away. And I hadn't really spent that much time on campus before I got here. We had played UCLA when I was at UCF and had been around, obviously the fields and the athletic facilities. But just being on campus, the history of that, the whole aura John Wooden, and just the history of success with not only the coaches, the incredible coaches that come before me, but also the world-renowned athletes. You can look at track and field, Jackie Robinson, Jackie Joyner-Kersee, Flojo, all the basketball great athletes, women's soccer. It's pretty impressive, and I think that that kind of history, it's really hard to find at any school in the country.
And yet, Coach, you still I feel like Florida is still a home to you, because I know you come every summer and you're going to come back here. You've got a camp coming up.
I do. Florida, UCF was great to me. I was there for 14 years for a reason. We were very successful, but the way that school grew, it was almost like being in 3 or 4 different jobs, being in the same location. How the campus changed, the conferences changed. I had different ADs when I was there. So I saw a lot of change in those 14 years, and it became one of the best schools for soccer, at least on my side of things. I think for a women's soccer athlete to attend, with all the great facilities, everything that was growing, and I love to get back to that community. I have a lot of friends there. A lot of my alums that I'm close to are there. I come back for weddings. I come back to visit their kids they're having now. Courtney Whitten's getting married the weekend after my camp, which my camp is July 9th through the 12th up in Claremont. We host it at the National Training Center. It's a great facility. We stay at a hotel. Everything's really easy and walkable. And then I'll be hanging around in town to go to Courtney Whitten's wedding.
Okay, congratulations to Courtney. Yeah, I didn't even know that was happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got. So let's go back in time a little bit, and this is when we signed on. It's been a rough couple of weeks for the USA soccer family, with the loss of Tony DiCicco, who passed away a few weeks back at the age of 68. Can you reflect back for us on your time with Team USA and with Tony as the head coach there? You were, correct me if I'm wrong, you were on Team USA's roster from 94 to 99, which was right in the thick of the build up to that moment at the World Cup. And you were also on the Olympic team in 96, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Yeah, my first camp actually with the team was in 1990. So I was actually I started making rosters. My very first trip, I think, was in 91 to Bulgaria. I was on the qualifying roster for the 91 World Cup that we went to Haiti. So don't steal those years from me. I'm very proud of those early years. The early 90s on that team, definitely a lot of growth. And that's when Anson Dorrance was the coach. Tony took over in 94, right before the 95 World Cup, which I was on that team, and the 96 Olympics. I was actually an alternate. At the time, there's only 16 on the roster for the Olympics, and I was one of 4 alternates after tearing my ACL and getting back in 3 months. So I did a miraculous rehab and recovery to get back to even make that roster. And all that was incredible. I fell short of making the 99 team, so I'm not officially a 99er, but I feel like I am, because that's the group I played with all those years. And Tony was a big part of, obviously, the success of that team, and he was a big part of my transformation into a coach. I never really knew that I wanted to coach for a career, and I think I had such a good time on the national team. I had great coaches in college with Lauren Gregg, and on the national team with Anson and Tony, and they were just such good role models and mentors that when I landed I had a short gig at University of Maryland, Baltimore County, before UCF, but that was just kind of a stopgap, and I didn't really plan on coaching my career at that point. And when I landed at UCF, it was just kind of, I was in the right place at the right time. We had been down in Florida for our residency, our training camp, and I didn't make the 99 roster, so that really I landed at UCF because I didn't make the 99 roster, which is, I guess, kind of ironic.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing kind of how things kind of turn out in a lot of ways. You didn't really think about the coaching until really in UCF. Was that the point when you went to UCF? Was that the point where you're like, I'm just going to go for this coaching career? When did you start kind of thinking. And I would assume that Tony, you took some of his coaching style and some of his philosophies probably influenced you.
Oh yeah, I mean Tony, probably the biggest influence in my life and my coaching career. And I didn't make the roster for that summer, and I was still in Orlando, and I think Karen Richter left for Auburn. I think that May, and I was hired when everyone was out of school, and I didn't even know the team. I didn't meet the team until preseason in August. It's kind of a crazy whirlwind of, I was away. I went to a bunch of the World Cup games. I was at the Rose Bowl, running around the field celebrating, that World Cup victory. Even though I didn't play, I was still, I felt like a part of that program. And Tony always welcomed his former players with open arms, and he was a coach that kind of taught me how to value every single one of his players, and he gave us all some great gifts along the way, and that was one of them, that he just was very open and honest and loving to his players, and he wasn't afraid to be loving to his players and let them fail, let them succeed, let them figure things out. I think the big thing was, it's just every player has to fill a role. Everyone can't be the superstar. Everyone can't be the starter. And I think Tony really embraced, as a coach, how to give everyone credibility, how to give everyone value.
When I'm also interested in, I feel bad that all the time we've known you, that we've never actually asked you this. How much of an influence was Michelle Akers in your decision to come to UCF in 1999?
Well, that's the time I was living with Michelle Akers, and because I wasn't in the full-time training camp at that time, so I kind of was in and out of the training camp as I think at the time they called us floaters, or I don't know what the term was, but I wasn't on like a full-time contract. Michelle was the reason I came down to Florida in the first place, because I was coaching at UMBC, and she basically said, come down and give this one more shot for the '99 World Cup. And so that's why I quit my job at UMBC, loaded up my Jetta and my dog and a spoon and a fork and a couple bags, and drove down to Florida without any job, without any really hope yet of getting into camps. At that point, I wasn't in one of the camps that was going on, so I really had to work myself into some training camps. And Tony gave me some opportunities, but I knew it was a long shot, but I wasn't afraid to do it. And in the end, I think having someone like Michelle kind of speak vision into your life and give you the encouragement to go chase a dream, and even if falling short wasn't necessarily a bad thing, because then I was in Florida, I was in Orlando, and then that's really where I fell into the coaching job and my coaching career at UCF.
What made you decide to take the UCF job when you took it? Because at the time you're wondering, you said yourself you weren't really thinking about going into coaching. So what kind of attracted you to go to about the UCF job?
To be quite honest, I didn't know at the time. I was really, when you finish a national team career, any kind of career where you're identified by what you do a little bit. And being on the national team, I was on the team for 7-8 years, and that became part of who I was. And so you go through a bit of a mourning process, as any athlete I think does when they retire or move on from a team or even a coaching job. And I didn't know I wanted to do it for sure, but I was intrigued by it, and I knew UCF had a ton of potential. Obviously, I knew Michelle played there, and back in the day, UCF was one of the marquee names in college soccer. With Michelle and Amy Allman, and a bunch of the players before, really gave UCF notoriety and put UCF soccer on the map. And I knew it could get back to that kind of prominence, and with the location, obviously a great campus, I just knew there was a ton of potential there.
And you turned it into 11 trips to the NCAA, and it's amazing when I look back at your coaching record here in Orlando, starting in 1999, back when the program was in the Atlantic Sun Conference, and the what is now the UCF soccer complex was basically a lighted field with some aluminum bleachers around it.
Yeah.
Was Here were your standings there, starting in your first year. First, second, first, second, first, second, first, third, first, fourth, third, and then you finished with 6 consecutive NCAA berths where you got to at least the second round, including an Elite Eight. Out of all of those moments, which one was your favorite?
Well, I gotta talk about the weekend that is one of the best weekends in probably college soccer for a mid-major, for any team really. Considering we beat Florida, our in-state rival, someone we had to match up with time and time again in the postseason, and then the next match is against UNC, perennial champions, one of my former coaches. And we beat them in PKs to go to the Elite Eight. And I still remember vividly Eleni Hayes making that save on the 6th kick when it's sudden death PKs and saving it. And it's giving me chills right now. I mean, it was one of those moments that you hold on to for a lifetime, because what that meant for the program was huge. And I know because I was at Florida and all the alums we had in the stands, running out to the field and getting to celebrate that moment with us. The dog pile was incredible. Just the whole feeling of, wow, this program, we can do things. We can. I firmly believed we could win a national championship, and I think we had not our best showing against Wake Forest in that Elite Eight game, but I thought we had the talent to make a run for it, and I think we showed that in the weekend we beat Florida and UNC.
You talked about
was it extra special?
Sorry, Eric, go ahead.
Well, remember, was it extra special too because of the Gainesville area, which a lot of years you got sent there, and a lot of times that was kind of a roadblock. Did that make it even extra sweeter that you kind of overcame that and get to the Sweet 16 and get to the Elite Eight? Before falling to Wake Forest, and then you beat obviously one of the big power programs in women's soccer in North Carolina. Yeah,
I mean I was so sick of losing in the second round. It was like, when are we going to get over this hump? And it was funny. I had a conversation with Jill Ellis when she was at UCLA, and she had the conversation about these humps. Like she was having a hard time getting over the Final Four hump of actually winning an actual national championship. And I was like, I'd rather try to get over that Final Four hump than the second round hump. I was like, that sounds like a good place to be in the Final Four. And we had a good laugh about it. But, it's one of those things as a program, it meant a lot. And I know being in Florida and doing it there. And I think we as a program, showed the country who we were.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Hello, Night Nation. I'm Andrew Fegley.
And I'm Trey Strelko. Where are we? This isn't our usual spot.
It looks like we've landed in the Black and Gold Banneret podcast.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of those guys.
Nightline has UCF sports covered.
Week in and week out, we bring you interviews with newsmakers and in-depth analysis of UCF sports.
Subscribe to our weekly podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Be sure to subscribe to Nightline on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Twitter at UCF_Nightline.
Trace, can we go back to the 1148 studios now and start working on our next all-new Nightline?
How do we get out of here? Go Knights!
Charge on.
Now back to you guys in the Black and Gold Banneret podcast.
And welcome back to our Black and Gold Banneret Summer Sessions. Let's return to our conversation with Amanda Cromwell. So in 2013, you move on from UCF to UCLA, and I remember how sad we all were to see you go, but we were like, something, Amanda really deserves this, and boy, it's going to be fun to see what she does in UCLA. And lo and behold, you guys win the national championship in your first year in 2013. Way to set the bar for yourself there, Coach. Defeating Florida State as you did in overtime, 1-0, the thrilling fashion that you did it. I try to think about it, like, oh my gosh, that's Amanda Cromwell, and holy God, they just won the national championship. Did it move as fast for you that year as it did for us watching you?
Yeah, I think it did. Like, it was a whirlwind. I got out here. I think I was hired in April, but I didn't really get out here until May. It's tough moving cross country. Holy cow!
Yeah.
And I was trying to recruit at the same time, and we were a little behind in the recruiting cycle for that year because of how late I was hired, and we had a lot of work to do on that front. So again, when we're luckily UCLA is a quarter system, so the players were still around, so at least I got to meet them. Different than my UCF experience when I was hired, but we took off running when that August. I remember one of the turning points for us is we had a road trip. We went to Notre Dame's tournament and then Duke's tournament, and we really we won three out of 4 of those games. We lost to UNC, and we played really, really poorly against UNC. And I told the girls, I was like, well, if this is something, and I didn't know really what we had until that weekend. I could see moments of brilliance, but I could also see there was a little mentality issues, and they had this fear factor a little bit against UNC at that time. They had never beaten UNC yet, and so one of the greatest moments in that year was beating UNC in the Elite Eight to get to the Final Four. Because as a program, UCLA hadn't done that yet. As a coach, I had, which I think it gave them confidence a little bit. And it's funny looking back because I think Anson made a comment because I think when did they win? I remember the 2 years before that. I don't remember how the timing went, but he made a comment along the lines of, "Well, as long as we don't meet up with a coach or a team Amanda Cromwell's coaching, we'll be fine." Because I think we had beat them one year, they won the national championship, and then we beat them the next year. So it was kind of funny that he made that comment, and Anson's he's the best coach, the legend in the college world, and just being able to say that, we were able to knock them out to get to the Final Four that year. That was a big part of that maturation process for that team, to have lost to them earlier in the year and to come back and beat them, and to get to that Final Four, we had to beat Stanford in the Sweet 16, UNC, and then Virginia. And that run we made, I think historically it would probably have to be one of the hardest runs at the national championship. When you look at the level of those teams, I think Stanford and UNC were two of the previous national champions of like the previous 3 years, I think.
And would you believe that you guys gave up only 1 goal in that entire tournament, and that was to Virginia in the semifinal too?
Oh wow! I remember that goal. I didn't remember we had only given up 1. That was a poor back pass to our goalkeeper too, that the forward picked off.
Yeah, but
that's what happens when you have a good goalie keeper coach, right there,
right?
Coach?
Exactly. Alini Reyes made it to we saw her play at home down in Brazil in the Rio Olympics in 2016. And she was on your staff at UCLA. Is she still on your staff at UCLA, by the way? Is she coming back, or is she playing pro now?
She's going to Hungary to play pro.
Oh, wow. Okay. I mean, yeah. I remember when she was here at UCF, and, you talked about her during that spectacular run that she made, that you guys made to the Elite Eight, and then you see, kind of the fruits of her labor as well at UCLA. And it got me thinking, is Alini Reyes probably the best player that Amanda Cromwell has ever coached at UCF? Where would you put her in terms of the best players that you saw out of all the players that you had?
Oh yeah, I'd have to put her at 1. I mean, she's an Olympian. She had single-handedly won us some games with some of the incredible saves she made, and just an incredible example of just her work rate, her passion for the game, her efforts. She came back from so many injuries, had multiple surgeries, and really, just took us to a whole nother level. And that weekend of that Florida UNC game, there's some saves she made that I haven't seen a college keeper make sense, or pro keeper for that matter.
I remember thinking back. It felt like there was something special brewing a couple years before that. You remember when? Remember the Florida State game?
when we came back and won after being down 2 goals?
It was the one at home. It was the one.
That with Courtney Wooden scoring the header to win
right,
it.
Yeah. Right. And I had you mic'd up for that game. Remember that?
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Was it?
Well, I just think back to this one particular moment where it was right before the second overtime, and you had run out to the field and you said, listen, we're just going to keep the pressure on it just like we have the last 90 or 120 or whatever number of minutes we've been playing. And I was like, and I thought, I kept going back to it, and I thought, wow, that's the real focus of a coach. When you forget exactly how many overtimes you've been playing, you're just like, let's just focus on the task at hand. Yeah. And it paid off, that spectacular game against Florida State. So let me ask you about this. I always wondered, from where you stand, you come from, you coached from UMBC to UCF when it was an Atlantic Sun program, up through Conference USA, getting ready to move to what was formerly the Big East. And now it's UCLA in the Pac-12. You've seen the spectrum of women's soccer and women's sports at the college level. There's so much going on these days about, what does the future of college athletics hold, particularly with women's sports. What do you think the future holds, and what do you think the NCAA should do and can do to further help women's sports in the next 10 to 15 years?
Well, I think the future for soccer, just in general, men's and women's side, is really bright. I mean, you look at the MLS, you look at the NWSL, it's growing. They're looking to expand teams on the pro side in the NWSL. So that's exciting, and I love, this league has lasted longer than the previous 2 leagues, and I think things are going in the right direction. And the college game, on the women's side, it's so strong. When you see these players coming out of college, going right into pro teams and starting and having impacts right away, and that's really exciting because I know we're developing these kids, and they have the resources. They're getting their degrees and being able to move on and realize their dreams. And I think on the NCAA side, one thing I would like to see is trying to retain more female coaches, and especially those that were former players, trying to get them plugged in to go to coaching schools, get involved with clubs, get involved with colleges, because and I think the role models that these girls now have, they see women playing soccer on TV every week, and I never had that. My role models that were women were tennis players, Steffi Graf and Martina Navratilova, and we didn't have that to look at. Now they do, and I think as players it's been motivating, but now we need them to see more women coaches. We're still so far behind on the percentage of female coaches and coaching female sports teams in college, not just soccer, but across the board. And so that's really a goal of mine, to try to mentor more young women, try to get them involved in coaching. I was a biology major. I was going to go to med school, and I never planned on this as a career, but I can't imagine doing anything else as fulfilling as I would have done for the last 20 years.
Well, I know you and many coaches getting ready for the season to start here in a couple of months, and the destination for everybody, the goal this year, ironically, will be Orlando. That's where the College Cup will be held, December 1st through the 3rd at Orlando City Stadium. That's got to give you a smile to your face on a lot of levels, because here we are. We got Orlando's getting to host the College Cup, thanks to, of course, the MLS and the Orlando City, where they play their home, and the Orlando Pride. Look, every year the goal is to get to the College Cup, but I would imagine that's got to be there's some pride there that Orlando is going to be hosting this one for you.
Oh yeah, I mean I've been to that stadium. I was in town. I think it was in May, and got to go to Orlando Pride game, and I love that new stadium. I love the community and the support both teams are getting, and nothing would make me happier than go back for a Final Four in a town I consider my second home.
Well, we love to see you there, Coach, and I know that Tiffany Roberts, Sahadak, who was your teammate with Team USA, would love to meet you guys there too. And Boy, wouldn't that be fun if we had just a big giant Team USA reunion in Orlando this winter? Wouldn't that be something?
Hey, if UCF and UCLA get to the Final Four, I'm all for it.
Well,
I think a lot of people would, Coach, and you know this. I mean, there are a lot of fans in Orlando that are, UCF soccer fans, but are also UCLA fans, which has to mean a lot to you that, even though you left, you still got a lot of fans that are following you.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's great to hear, and I really appreciate it. I have a lot of love for Orlando, and it's a place that always will be special, and UCF will always be a program I support, and I wish TR and Tim a lot of luck this fall, and I always keep an eye on what they're doing from week to week, and it's just great to feel like I have that connection with another team that I just want to see them succeed, and it makes me proud.
Well, we know that the trajectory of things. I think not just with UCLA, but also particularly with UCF, the trajectory has just followed the trajectory that you set forth, and Michelle set forth, and of course Tony set forth, and Tiffany back during the 90s with Team USA, and none of this happens without the hard work that you guys put in, and like we've said before, we always keep an eye out for you out there out west, and we appreciate you. And give us that information one more time on your camp as well coming up.
My camp is July 9th to the 12th in Claremont, Florida at the National Training Center. The website, UCLAsoccer.com to get information on all of our camps, including the ones at UCLA, but the Orlando camp can be found on that site, UCLAsoccer.com.
Cool. All right. Thanks, Amanda.
All right. Thank you.
And a reminder, Amanda Cromwell's College Bound Champions Academy will be taking place July 9th through the 12th at the National Training Center in Claremont. Again, that's for ages 9 through 17. Again, that's at the National Training Center in Claremont, July 9th through the 12th. Thanks once again to Amanda for giving us some time and allowing us to go in the Wayback Machine for a little bit. All right. Next up on our next show, our next summer session, is a guy that I know you guys will all be excited to hear from. He is, for my money, UCF's greatest basketball player that we've ever seen to this point. And I had the good fortune of having a front row seat for his senior year when I was working the camera underneath the north basket at CFE Arena. And he is still fighting his way back to his NBA dream. We're going to have Jermaine Taylor, number one, of UCF's all-time leading Division I level scorer, on our next summer session here on the Black and Gold Banneret podcast. So once again, make sure you follow us at blackandgoldbanneret.com, at Black and Gold Banneret on Facebook, and UCF_Banneret on Twitter, and subscribe to this podcast on Google Play, iTunes, of course, SoundCloud, and TuneIn. So for Eric Lopez, I'm Jeff Sharon. We'll catch you on our next Black and Gold Banneret podcast summer session.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.